Welcome to fourth grade reading. This is lesson 147. Pages in you'll need your reading book, Trails to Explore, pages 191 to 207. You also need your vocab list. Okay, we're on vocab list 4, so it's the last one on this page. So when we're done with this one, then we're done with that page, and I'll be getting a new one printed for list 5, 6, 7. I'm not sure how many I can fit on a page from here on, but we'll get as many as we can on the page. And so make sure that you have this, that you're going over this each day. We're going to start with that. We're going to go over these words, and then we're going to go over some of the words in the story. And you guys had read part of this story that we're in. This is the story, The Middle Bear. Okay, so that's what we're reading through. So we're going to be, let's see if we're finishing the story. I believe, yes, we're finishing the story, and then there is a poem, a little story by A.A. Milne, well, yeah, it's a poem that you're going to read, and so we're going to talk about that a little bit. So, first of all, grab your vocab list. We're going to say our words, okay? Acknowledge, to admit to be true, to confess, acknowledge. Conceited, prideful, vain, conceited. Custodian, a janitor, custodian. Emerge, to come into view, emerge. Grimy, smudge all over with dirt, grimy. Scarcely, almost, did not, barely, scarcely. Surge, to rush forward, surge. Survey, to inspect carefully, survey. Okay, we're going to try those one more time just so that you get those in your head. You should have written them out with yesterday's lesson 2 times, and then there's another, it's either today or tomorrow that you write them out again. So be sure to check that. So let's go back to the beginning of the list. Acknowledge, to admit to be true, to confess, acknowledge. Conceited, prideful, vain, conceited. Custodian, a janitor, custodian. Emerge, to come into view, emerge. Grimy, smudged all over with dirt, grimy. Scarcely, almost, did not, barely, scarcely. Surge, to rush forward, surge. Survey, to inspect carefully, survey. All right, so those are your words, and you'll have a quiz on those on Monday, okay? So we'll have that ready. We will still, we've just gotten back from spring break. I did the lessons for Monday and Tuesday and part of Wednesday. Before going on spring break, you may have noticed that I was wearing the same shirt, but now we're back from spring break, and it looks like we're going to be doing this through May 1st unless we hear otherwise. So we're at least going to continue for the rest of this month, and so just be looking for that, and we'll just keep making these videos. And be sure that if you do have questions on any of the subjects, that you are telling your parents that you're doing all the work, and that you are asking for help if you need it, okay? So we're going to look at a couple words that you're going to see in these. Survey is in our vocab list, and so that's one of the words that you're going to be reading. So if you look down, what did that mean? To inspect carefully, to survey. It's mostly used for like surveying land to see if you would, if they want to build there, or what they would need to change in order to build something there. Okay, a cue, C-U-E, is like to go onto a stage, and I believe that this is, yes, with this story, it's a there's a production that they're doing, and so a cue would be when you would go on. So someone would cue you, and if you remember for our programs that we've done here, we give you a cue I usually sit there and I raise my hand to get you guys to stand up, and that's your cue to go up, or the whatever was said right before that, you may have a cue that that we need to go up to sing the song, or the end of the song gives you a cue to sit down, or to for the next speaker to start talking. So those are cues. That's what that means, okay? And these two words are the words that are going to be in that little short poem at the end by A.A. Milne. He wrote Winnie the Pooh. Okay, so that may help you. But the words snoo and frizz, he made up. So those are not like real words, but he made them up for his poem. And so that's what that is. So we don't really have a definition for them, but in the sentence, it kind of tells you, or in that spot, it tells you what that is. And so just see if you can figure that out, and we'll talk about that next time. All right, so the Moffats is the family that we are looking at, and at the top of 191, so you should have finished that paragraph to the top. So I'm going to start reading, and then I'll let you finish the story and read that poem at the end. Don't forget to study your vocab list after you've read, okay? At last, it was the night of the play. The four Moffats knew their lines perfectly. This was not surprising, considering they all lived in the same house and could practice their lines in the same any time they wanted to. And besides this, they had had 2 rehearsals, one in regular clothes and one in their bear costumes. When Jane reached the town hall, she was surprised to find there were many features on the program besides the 3 bears. The Gillespie twins were going to give a piano duet. By the Brook, it was called. A boy was going to play the violin, and Miss Beale was going to sing a song. A big program, and the Moffats, all of them except Mama, were going to watch this whole performance from behind the scenes. They could not sit in the audience with the regular people with their bear costumes on, for that would give the whole show away. Jane fastened her eyes to a hole in the curtain. Mama had not yet come. Of course, Mama would have to sit out front there with the regular people, even though she had made the costumes. The only people who had arrived so far were Clara Pringle and Brud. They were sitting in the front row, and Jane wondered how they had gotten in, because the front door that all the regular people were supposed to use wasn't even open yet. When Jane peered through a hole in the curtain, Joey, or Rufus, was. Each one hoped he would be the first to see Mama when she came in. Or now and then they tried to squeeze through the opening at the side of the curtain, but the gnarled little janitor shook his head at them, so they stayed inside. Sylvie was busy putting makeup on. Jane watched enviously. The only trouble with wearing a bear costume, she thought, was that she couldn't have her face painted. Well, she quickly consoled herself. She certainly would not have stage fright inside her bear head, whereas she might if there were just paint on her face. Somebody has been sitting in my chair, she rehearsed her lines. She stepped into her bear costume. But before putting on her head, she helped Rufus into his bear uniform. He didn't call it a costume, a uniform, a bear uniform. Jane set his head on his shoulders, found his 2 eyes for him so he could see out, and the little bear was ready. All right, so that was through the page 192. I'll let you guys finish the stories 193 all the way to 206, and then on 207 you're going to read about Furry Bear, okay? Since I read the introduction to the last story, the story that you're finishing before, I will read the introduction to this poem, and then you will get to see that. If you could choose to be any animal, which animal would you pick and why? The author of this poem explains why he would choose to be a bear, okay? So that's what this is all about. And so go ahead and read that. Ask yourself the thinking it through questions at the end of the story, or have someone else ask them, and see what you can come up with on that. And I'll ask them in the next video, so you can be prepared for that. And lesson 148 is your Adventures in Otherlands quiz. So there is no video for that, and it's the only thing you have to do for that lesson. And so that's all listed, but go ahead and make sure that you do that. And then we'll see you in the lesson on Friday for reading. Okay, we'll see you next time.